I wish that the world was a safer place for Black women. And I wish I could walk into any room and not be immediately assumed to be like this mean, horrible, terrible person who's plotting against everyone else. And I wish that I was understood immediately. And I wish that I could see myself in every single piece of media that I consume. But that's not the way that life is. And I wish that every single day. And I'm so tired. I'm so tired of being misunderstood as a Black woman, for my passion and for my enthusiasm and for my feelings to be misconstrued and perceived as anger, or just relegated as anger, because that's the only kind of acceptable kind of emotion that you have in your mind for me to be able to express. I'm angry. Are you happy? I'm angry. But I'm also sad, and I'm hurt, and I'm pained, and I feel unseen and unappreciated frequently in the environments that we inhabit, and it needs to stop. I know this one video isn't going to change all of your minds, but let it make you think! Toodles! Toodaloo!
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video around Black female rage and overall just feeling unappreciated as a Black woman. If you're new to my channel, I generally do social commentary, but also I want to start just doing more conversational, opinion related videos. So please, as usual, let me know what you think of my video below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I was inspired to really just have this conversation on my channel because I saw 2 TikTok creators in the span of a week sort of touch on the sort of trope, stereotype of the angry Black woman, and just seeing how they kind of reflected on like how it impacts them in terms of being a student, in terms of one of the creators, I will credit both of them in this video as well. And there was a Black British creator, I believe her page is called Birth of a Mother, and she sort of was talking about how she looks back at her childhood and basically views her mum differently now as she's gotten older compared to how she did as a child. The video is essentially an apology to her mum because her mum was a single parent. She, they were in a working class area in London, and just imagine the pressure that is, but also as a Black woman, the barriers that she was constantly having to like people aren't making it easy, so when she sort of discussed her mum's anger and just like remembering how frustrated her mum was a lot of the time, she was like, well, wait a minute, like it makes a lot of sense as to why she was. The angry Black woman trope, it's basically people refusing to acknowledge their role in not supporting Black women, treating Black women like garbage, okay? And it's like a catch-22 because you're facing this treatment, right? And we all have different experiences. I don't want to make it seem as if, there aren't Black women or those within Black womanhood who have advantages based on us being cis, based on us being light-skinned, etc., etc. And I think that ties into my experiences. And obviously, in comparison, we're not seen as angry or like the way that because of colorism, there is another dimension to this conversation is what I want to lay out from the start. But in terms of just that element around Black womanhood and gender and how it ties into race, it's like this sort of racial gaslighting and people refusing to, not wanting to acknowledge how they have hurt Black women. I really feel like that is a key part of it. And then also it's like the dehumanization. It's easier to use Black women as a punching bag because we're not protected, our feelings are not considered, just having this conversation. But I'm going to talk about it in different layers, but I could just really relate to that in terms of my own experience growing up with my mom and her also being a single parent, like, I was like, damn, like, I really can relate to that. Like, my mum having no patience, being very irritable. Like, I did not understand that as a child, why she would have such a short fuse. But the world isn't kind to black women. So why wouldn't she be defensive sometimes? Why wouldn't she have a short fuse? Like, it's this thing where it's like, they don't want to acknowledge any of the social harm. They just want to be able to have that access and to continue to mistreat black women. The Black American creator, he was talking about her experiences at college and just like wanting to just not be misunderstood. Like, it's actually not a lot to ask for, like, for people to just take you as you are rather than project all of these ideas onto you. Her page is called Karma Pilled, and I will insert the clips into this video. I think with Birth of a Mother, I won't be able to download it because they did not add that setting to the TikTok video. But I gave you a sense of what it is. I don't want to share it, and then they did not want it shared onto other platforms, essentially. But it's just like her really understanding her mom in a different light as she has gotten older. If her mom didn't yell, who the hell is going to listen? Because I feel like in terms of black women's experiences, we have this weird kind of like hyper visibility, but also invisibleness, dismissed, pushed to the corner when it comes to having those difficult conversations. When it comes to like being able to advocate for ourselves, our feelings are always dismissed, they're always pushed to the side. So why aren't we're going to be angry, we're going to yell. Like, it literally makes no sense. I feel like as a black woman, I for so long felt like I couldn't express anger. It's like this weird thing where I kind of just suppress the frustrations or any sort of like, it just would make me feel like I can't express it. And especially spending time in white spaces, it made me super aware of how I'm viewed and quite like hyper vigilant and nervous, kind of like anxious even. And I think what I've realized is that I just have to accept that I'll be misunderstood. There's no point of like moving yourself all around and overly centering other people's feelings in the process because you're not considering your own feelings by doing that. And it's hard. It is hard. It's not something where I feel like I've necessarily figured it out yet, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. There is going to be that racist and sexist perception. You're going to be seen as angry and aggressive. It's like we can't be human. We can't express any kind of like disagreement, or else we're seen as overly confrontational. And anger is a like thing that everyone experiences, but because we're black women, we're not allowed. Those things should be challenged. They shouldn't go unchallenged, but that is what is taught here, I would argue, right? And with that in mind, it's no wonder that black communities are more likely to experience mental health conditions, more likely to have mental health experiences, but less likely to receive less likely to receive support. So there's like a little pattern there in terms of like, we're experiencing all of these different things, right? And we're just expected to just get on with it. Another stat I saw was around how black women face the worst health inequalities in South London, particularly in relation to anxiety, depression, and chronic pain. And this was a study from researchers from the Faculty of Life Sciences and Medicine, which was supported by Impact on Urban Health. My next point, anger is helpful. Anger can be an indicator of something that someone is doing that you've had enough of, right? Disrespect. We need anger, we need it. And I think I realized that I have to be more comfortable in just expressing it, in disagreeing, in not being this overly like people pleaser, pushover, doormat type thing. And there's always been a part of me that enjoys to cuss people out, I can't lie. So I need that. I need her back a little bit. I need her to come back. And I want to make this conversational, but I was reading this article, right? Is it like a journal article, I think? And it's called Aggressive Encounters and White Fragility, Deconstructing the Trope. It's by Trina Jones and Kimberly Jade Norwood. And there was an extract that I read. I was just like, this is just so chef's kiss. Like it was just so beautiful. And they're talking about the angry black woman trope in the context of the United States. And both of the authors write, Black women in the United States are the frequent targets of bias-filled interactions in which aggressors, 1, denigrate black women, and 2, blame those who elect to challenge the aggressor's acts as the bias that fuels them. This article seeks to raise awareness of these aggressive encounters and to challenge a prevailing narrative about black women and anger. It examines the myriad of circumstances, both professional and social, in which aggressive encounters occur, and the ways in which these encounters expose gender and racial hierarchies. It then explores how the intersectional nature of black women's identities triggers a particularized stereotype or trope of the angry black woman, and explains how this trope is often invoked in aggressive encounters to deflect attention from the aggressor and to project blame onto the target. I was like, ooh. Like, it doesn't matter what we do, we're always viewed as the aggressor. So when that was framed differently, and I read that, I was just like, wow, that is what it is. And I think I'm so used to, the way that they describe that in terms of the gender and racial hierarchies, because black women are at the bottom of gender and racial hierarchies. Seeing that be acknowledged, just put into words so perfectly, was just so validating. And then also, you are the aggressors. Those that are obsessed with villainizing and bullying and targeting black women, you are the aggressors, not us. And that's why it can be so draining and exhausting, because how they perceive us shapes their interactions. And just online and just through people around me, I see all these stories about like people being fired, the bullying in the workplace, and it's obvious that the environment is okay with that treatment, does not see a world where black women can be a victim, full stop, but also a world where black women are consistently the victim of this type of behavior. It really made me think about sports when it comes to Serena Williams, when it comes to what's her name, Sha'Carri Richardson, the way that everyone was so happy when she wasn't doing as well in her races. If you don't know, she's an American track and field athlete. The way that people were happy to see her downfall, there is so much. And I feel like how she presents herself, how she is comfortable in her blackness is a huge part of that. And that whole conversation about womanhood, I find it so interesting because gender and race, like, they really interact with each other in terms of like the oppression we face. And that's something that Kat Black touched on in her video around the boxer, and that whole conversation from the transphobia from J.K. Rowling, and essentially you're projecting what you think a woman is on that athlete. So you can see that the type of discrimination we face as cis, as trans women, as intersex women also, there is an overlap in that in terms of the expectations of what a woman is meant to look like, how a woman is meant to behave. So if J.K. Rowling is so pro-woman, why is her ideas of womanhood so narrow? Don't you want to live in a world where women are able to express and exist in a way that they feel comfortable, not abiding by your expectations as a rich white woman, a rich cishet white woman? Anyway, slightly trailed off there, but that does link to the conversation in terms of like the sort of racial and gender discrimination that Black women face specifically. And any time we do something wrong, what are people saying? You look like a man. And I think our relationship to gender is complex because of that, because we are constantly policed. So inevitably it will shape how we feel comfortable presenting and how we don't. And there are expectations in how Black women are expected to act, how Black women are expected to look, to be accepted. Even the bullying that I faced growing up, it was very much around that, and I can't act as if that hasn't impacted how I view myself. And I think anti-Blackness, we all have to push back against that. Because not only does it impact how we view ourselves, it can impact how we interact with other Black people. Just in my own interactions with people, like I feel like my gender and race has played a huge role when I've had misunderstandings with people. And it's like, I mean, if you're constantly being pushed up against the wall, of course you're going to be defensive. Like, huh? Where's the grace? Where's the understanding? But it just links to my point overall that we're not allowed to be human, we're not allowed to make mistakes, we're held to high standards than everybody else. And I'm tired of it, right? I'm tired of it. And it's like, yeah, sometimes we mess up too. Don't place us as this weird kind of like figure that is like all knowing. And I feel like sometimes we get that kind of weird kind of like, lean on Black women, rely on Black. I don't want to be relied on. Sorry, I don't want to be relied on. I don't want you to look to me. You have to develop your own understanding of the world, do the work. Like that emotional role as well, I feel like is something that is often expected. And I think I like helping people, but I think when it's expected so much, it can be really damaging and exhausting. And I think a lot of Black women get so burnt out. And I do feel that as a recovering people pleaser, which is why I just sometimes just sort of take a seat back and just distance myself, because I think because we're so used to being overlooked, we will go out of our way to make sure that other people don't feel that way. But if we're not being appreciated in that process, and if we're not receiving it back, not worth it. Not worth it. So yeah, that is essentially my video on Black women's anger and why I feel like more space should be created for us to be angry. And I just want to give a sense of why I feel unappreciated as a Black woman. And essentially, to you as a viewer, even if you're a Black woman, there might be instances where you look back on it and you're like, hold on a minute, like what role did I play here in not creating a space for other Black women? Like, did I give grace? Did I have understanding? But yeah, I think, and even within that, Black womanhood is diverse, and we have to acknowledge those differences within our experience as well. For example, light-skinned women, light-skinned Black women often center themselves. Let me know if you can relate to this conversation below. Bye.